Hello, how are you doing this evening? I want to talk about a few current women's issues that are going on in America right now. So, first of all, unemployment has skyrocketed for Black women under this current political administration, the Trump administration, and it's due to all of the um, like the layoffs and stuff like that in the public sector. A lot of Black women have found meaningful careers in the public sector. And so a lot of those have been doged because I guess that was deemed government waste. So I just wanted to point that out. Then I wanted to talk about nursing and how the Department of Education wants to deem a nursing degree as not a professional degree. So that pretty much it affects funding and student loans. And I think that that's unfortunate. I think that that could affect all of us. That could diminish healthcare and healthcare standards. I think it's very unfortunate. It seems like it would create a shortage in nurses because what it would do is it's going to shut a lot of people out of pursuing certain programs that were kind of a little bit more high dollar. And I saw one comment that said, "We'll go to community college." Well, how much space do you think these community college programs have? They don't have very much. Here in Kansas City, and I've never been a part of these programs, but I've just like met different people. And I knew this one girl once who was telling me about a community college nursing program here in Kansas City, which I guess is very good, but it's very hard to get in. I mean, it's just not very big. So at other schools that were a little bit more expensive, a lot of people would be shut off from that just because with it being a non-professional degree, the government would only give them so much money. But anyway, I think that's very unfortunate. And again, I feel like a an occupation that is thought of as a woman's occupation that a lot of women have done well for themselves with is being attacked. And again, I also think that it's probably an attack against Black women and is undermining Black women. People say, work hard and, you know, you can be successful, and people try to do that and are trying to do that. And I feel like the government's trying to burn that bridge, which is very sad. Sorry, that's kind of gross, but sorry. So it's unfortunate. So I do feel like Black women and women overall are being undermined heavily by this administration. And remember all those nurses that were all woo woo, rah rah, MAGA during the pandemic? Now look at them. Trump doesn't even think they're professionals. But okay, moving on. Next, I want to talk about this lady named Amber Check. She was a young lady. She's a welder from Minnesota, and she was killed at her job at her workstation by a coworker who said, quote, he did not like her. The news did not give any further details, just he did not like her. He was 40, she was 20, and she was a welder. She got her credentials from a community college just last year in 2024, and she was bludgeoned to death by this coworker. Now, again, the news did not offer very many details, but I have thought about this a lot. I'm just like, how the heck did this happen? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just hard to know. Did he proposition her and she turned him down? Did he just resent a woman being in that field? I don't know. A lot of people say, you don't have to go to college to be successful. Uh, go into the trades. And I think that that is good advice, but I think that it is good advice really for men for numerous reasons. I'm not going to go all into why I think that. That's not necessarily great advice for women. I think that's very hard for women for numerous reasons. But the one that I'm going to talk about now is that I think that a lot of those environments are probably very hostile for women. Now, I've never had a job like that at all in a really like male dominated field. However, I remember having a job in college once working at the cafeteria, and there's this one particular shift when I was the only female. Um, and it was just all males on this shift. So we would set up the cafeteria for mealtime, and then once it was set up, we would sit down and eat. We would all eat together before we open up the cafeteria. I am not exaggerating at all when I say every single mealtime for that summer, because I stayed up at school for the summer. The topic of conversation at mealtime was NFL football and pornography. I am not kidding. That's all they talked about. And so I just find that, really male dominated environments are, for me, I tend to avoid them, but I mean, they're not real enjoyable for women. And I can see how they can be downright hostile. And that's why it kind of just grinds my gears when people are like, oh, go into the trades. Again, not bad advice at all for men. I don't know why more men haven't chosen the trades. And I don't understand why people act like it hasn't always been an option. I mean, it's been an option. So I don't know why, people act like they're coming up with something new when they say go into the trades. Like, this is not anything new. It's always been an option. But anyway, for many reasons, I think that it is a much better career choice for a man than it would be a woman. And right now, I'm just talking about hostility in the workplace. Another quick story. One time I stopped at a gas station that is kind of like big rigs go in there too. Like a regular car can go in there, but big rigs go in there too. And it's in the city, but it's kind of like a truck stop as well. So I go in there and just to get some gas. And while I was in there, I was like, okay, kind of need to use the ladies' room. So I went to the bathroom, and the bathroom was towards the back of the building. And then there were these guys who were just like waiting there who were like day laborers or something. So I walked through this building, and these guys, there were maybe like three of them, just stare like this as I walk through the building. And I don't so much take that as a compliment to, me being like fabulous looking or whatever, even though I was dressed up. I did leave church that day. But really, with that being a truck stop, I'm like, they're probably used to prostitutes walking through there. So I was just kind of like, oh, good baby. Again, male dominated environment. Kind of what I would consider to be hostile towards women. I was dressed for church. No, I do not dress like a hoochie at church at all. I do not. Some people do. And I'm not judging, I'm not talking about that, but I do not. But anyway, moving on. Now I want to talk about this one preacher. I think his name is Voddie Baucham. He was a kind of a conservative preacher, and I only know of him because of YouTube. He was kind of suggested to me on the algorithm. I watched like one or two of his videos. Not quite my cup of tea. I'm not like, he didn't grind my gears that much, but he's not my cup of tea either. This dude was, he promoted gender roles. He promoted homeschooling. So yeah. Anyway, he died in September. He was in his 50s. He was 56 years old. He had a wife looks like she was around his age. You know, they got married when they were fairly young. They stayed married until he died. Anyway, they had two children. They adopted seven, so they have nine kids. And this lady, she homeschooled that family, so I don't know if she ever like made money or anything. So now, I mean, some of the kids are grown. Like one of the daughters is like grown and married. But some of those kids are maybe still in the house. But nonetheless, I mean, my goodness, could you imagine being like in your 50s? So she's probably a little bit older than I am. Have like all these kids, even if they were all young adults, I still think that that would be a lot on her plate, a lot, just a very significant burden to carry. Financially, I mean, I'm sure he's a real responsible guy and all that stuff, but still, he's dead, so he's not generating money. Even if there was a life insurance policy. So I mean, finances, I wonder about, and just I mean, just having all these kids, and I mean, now she's a widow, and it's just like, does this treadwife stuff really work? I mean, I'm sure it works sometimes. Like sometimes when you hear about these people like living to be like 80 and 90 and dying at the same time, but it just doesn't realistically seem like it works. So I don't know why people don't like modernize their thinking. I don't know why that's so hard to modernize the thinking to, you know, women having opportunities and women, being partnered. I don't know why that's such a issue with people. And I am not really what I would consider to be a feminist, but I feel like I'm fair and I feel like I'm practical and I feel like I have some common sense. And I personally don't ever want to end up like sleeping under a bridge or something. And I feel like that would be up to me to make sure that doesn't happen or to try and prevent it with all of my will and all of my might. So I don't understand. I don't know what people really want from women. Um, because, okay, I don't have Twitter anymore, but I bet if you went over to Twitter right now, there would be someone arguing about paying for dates. And they would be men my age. Some of them would be men my age with big gray beards arguing about why they shouldn't have to pay for a date at Red Lobster or, Golden Corral or something like that, and why, they should go Dutch and all that kind of stuff. So I don't understand what the expectations are for women. I don't feel like people are being realistic. I think there's a lot of gaslighting going on, and I think it's really unfortunate what is going on in this administration. I think that there will be some bad repercussions for all of us as far as like healthcare and other things. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but the other juries that were deemed as not professional, it's like physical therapy, social work, and also accountants, oddly enough. So it stands to reason Trump probably doesn't like accountants very much, and he probably wants a very select group of people in that field. But, that's a whole different issue. But again, like all of those like social work and stuff like that, like physical therapy, like a lot of that type of stuff tends to be, female dominated. So I just really don't know what people want or expect from women. And I don't know that people really have women's interests at hand. And I think in a perfect world, I think it would be fantastic if all women could just like stay home and just focus on domestic matters and things like that. Honestly, I think that would be great. And I think that that honestly is probably how it should be. I don't know that it's ever really been like that for the majority of people. I think that there's some delusion, but I think it would be great if more women could focus on family and community and stuff like that. But realistically, that is not an opportunity that most women have or will ever have, um, in mass. I don't see it happening. I don't even think that men want to do it. Even if they have the ability, I don't think that most of them really want to. So people really need to be realistic about the world we live in, the fact that people die. I mean, you could have the greatest relationship ever, people die, and you need to think about that. Um, yeah, people just need to be realistic. And let me say something else. Yeah, I do think in a perfect world that more women could devote more time to like children and stuff like that. I especially mean that like when kids are little, if they have kids, when their kids are little. But I mean, if you have the talent to be a brain surgeon, I think that would be the big exception. Um, or if you have the talent to cure cancer as a woman, then by all means get a babysitter. But anyway, those are just some of my thoughts, and those are Women's Issues 2025. I also want to talk about Miss Universe eventually, but that's a whole different video because there's kind of a lot to say. It's very frivolous, but there's a lot to say. And I have some actual Bible studies coming up. One of them I have all planned is about Thanksgiving and how I feel like the Pilgrims had bad doctrine. So I'm going to talk about that. And then eventually, I haven't like written an outline for this. Then I want to talk about how being a trad wife really didn't even work in the Bible. So anyway, I will talk again later. Bye.